Welcome to Central Georgia Focus, and thank you for staying with us for our 2024 General Election Edition. I'm your host today, Raymond Tubb. And today we are giving you a chance to hear from the candidates running for Houston County Sheriff. You're going to hear from candidate Arthur Harris of Warner Robins. He worked for the Warner Robins Police Department for several years and says he also spent a couple of decades with the Houston County Sheriff's Office before leaving in 1993. Captain Moulton is from Macon and is currently working with the Houston County Sheriff's Department. He spent 24 of his 28 years in law enforcement in Central Georgia, and he's also worked for the Warner Robins Police Department. We appreciate you joining us for today. And we're going to be asking each of the two candidates the same questions, giving them each the same amount of time to answer. Joining us first, of course, Matt Moulton. And first of all, with the retirement of nation's longest serving sheriff and Colin Towton, a lot's changed since he was elected back in the Nixon administration, right. So way back in 1973, just over 50 years ago. What are some more modern changes that you'd like to see brought to this department if you're elected?
I think focusing on technology. I think technology is going to be the future of law enforcement with the use of drones and the camera footage that we get now from from residential security cameras to flock cameras to the DOT cameras. We can utilize that to keep a better eye on the community and help detect crime as it's happening and get officers in the area before the criminals get away.
Well, violence and crime, always top issues with voters, things they want to see addressed. What are some ideas that you have for the Sheriff's Department to help address those
I'd
issues?
like to see us start targeting the youth crime. We're seeing crime trends now drop down to 12 and 13-year-olds committing serious violent crimes, and we need to do something to get a grasp on that. It's been difficult for us, but with the implementation of the school resource program now under the Houston County Sheriff's Office, about 3 years ago, the Board of Education brought all their school resource units back to the Sheriff's Office. And we went from 3 officers to now 23 that we have in all the schools. I'd like to grow that unit to provide better security for the schools and to do some education in the schools about consequences of committing crimes.
Yeah, you kind of led into my next question.
Right.
So what other ideas do you have for the Sheriff's Department to help interact with teens and youth?
Yeah, I've been talking to a lot of local pastors in Warner Robins and Houston County, and one of the things that we're focusing on, that I'm focusing on, is going to be the youth crime. Not necessarily retraining kids how to be kids, but focusing on parents. I've talked to several church leaders that are interested in a program to help parents learn how to be better parents and to teach their children right from wrong at an earlier age. And then we'll focus on programs within the schools that teach kids the difference in the choices that they make, which consequences they're going to have. Got a friend of mine named Willie Raines that is known as the Human Freight Train. He does an anti-bullying campaign in the school systems, and I'd like to bring him in. He's also got a program called Choices and Consequences, where he teaches kids the negative consequences of poor decisions.
Of course, a lot of the problems the Sheriff's Department deals with goes back and ties into drugs, whether it be theft, violent crime, just a lot of the issues that you see. Right. What are your ideas in dealing with that? And you've got some experience in dealing with that.
I do. Majority of my career I spent as a drug investigator, and I've conducted some of the larger cases that have ever happened out of the Houston County Sheriff's Office. And that's going to be a big thing. The residential burglaries that we see, the people are stealing products out of houses to take to trade for drugs or to pawn to get money to go buy drugs. So I think drugs is kind of the root of all the problems that we see, whether it be trying to establish an empire, gain wealth, or notoriety in the community for these children or young adults, or just the easy way to make money quick. So targeting the drug investigations is going to be a big priority.
Of course, there's a lot of talk about how deputies interact with the community across the country, right. and deputies and police officers as well. What's your vision for how your deputies and the deputies of the Houston County Sheriff's Office would interact with the people of Houston County if elected?
I don't think that's going to change much from what Colin Towton, Sheriff Towton, expects of us. He's got a standard of excellence with the Sheriff's Office where we are expected to be professional and be polite. Be courteous to the citizens. He has an open door policy. I anticipate keeping that same open door policy in effect where people can come in and talk to me about issues that they may have in the community. We have a great outreach program. The law enforcement agencies in Houston County as a whole, with Warner Robins and Perry Police Department, Centerville, they all four agencies do a great job interacting with the public. We do have that public trust in Houston County where they expect us to do the right thing, and in most cases, officers do the right things.
In those cases when they don't, how do you plan to handle misconduct within the department and let the public know that you're addressing those issues?
Through transparency and a quick investigation, thorough investigation, but then taking action where an action is necessary.
Now, for several years, the Sheriff's Department, the county, have been involved in a federal lawsuit over Sergeant Anna Lane's request that the county pay for her transition surgery.
Right.
After reportedly spending more than $1 million in expenses and suffering losses at several levels, that case still remains in the court. Right. If elected, what are your thoughts on what should happen with that case going forward?
I don't know that that's my decision to make. I can say that Sergeant Anna Lane works directly for me in investigations, and she does her job as well as anybody else at the sheriff's office, and she is more than capable of doing the job that she does. My opinion of that I don't think necessarily matters. So I think that's going to be between the Board of Commissioners and the courts to figure that out.
When it comes to law enforcement, what do you think matters most? What would you like to be your overriding message as a leader of that department if you're elected?
Trust in the community. When officers take action, whether it be a use of force situation, an arrest, or a report, whatever our officers do, I want the public to look at them and say, if they did it, it needed to be done. It was the right thing to do. So that public trust that Sheriff Talton has had in place for 52 years, I want to carry that on. And for that ultimately to be the legacy, is that if the sheriff's office did something, it's because it needed to be done. It was the right thing to do.
Of course, with the Sheriff's Department, a lot of the focus goes on the law enforcement, but you also have responsibility over the jail there. So What is your philosophy on managing the jail and how the prisoners there are interacted with and the community as well?
Yeah, we provide resources within the jail. There's counselors, we've got medical staff that are in place in the jail. The inmates are allowed tablets where they can communicate with family members back at home. Continuing what we've been doing has been very successful for us. We don't have major issues in our facility, and I don't anticipate developing any major issues going forward.
Of course, another big issue that deputies and officers are challenged with across the state and really across the country too, mental health care. When they deinstitutionalized mental health care, a lot of that ended up falling, sadly, to the Sheriff's Department and to the jails.
Right.
So, they've had talk, the legislature came up with the mental health, trying to have the interaction community resource system, but that's not always practical. They don't come up with funding for it. What are your philosophies on how that should be dealt with?
One of the issues that we do have is dealing with people with mental health issues. He's now Police Chief Alan Everidge with Perry Police Department. When he was our Chief Administrator in the jail, I talked to him one day about it. And when we arrest someone on the street with a mental health issue and they get into the Houston County Sheriff's Office, they are provided the medication that they need while they're in jail. And the problem is when they get there and they get that medication, they become model inmates, and we don't have those issues with them. But when they bond out or they satisfy their charges and they return back to society, they're not getting that mental health care that they were getting in the jail, so they're not getting the medication. They quit taking that medication, and then their mental health goes back down. And we deal with them again, and it's almost like a revolving door. So seeing some type of program where when they come through our jail and are released on bond or something, maybe making it a condition of the probation or some kind of program that we can put in place where we follow those people even once they return to society and make sure they're getting the medication that they need to help them along the way to keep them from becoming repeat offenders, I think is a big thing for us.
Finally, a big part of your leadership too involves working with the county commission effectively, and budgeting the department as well, getting approval for that budget through the commission. So, how is your relationship there, and how would you manage that? What would you like to see happen with that relationship?
I've got a great relationship with our county commissioners and our chairman Dan Perdue. I've already spoken with them several times about the budget going forward. I've talked to Chief Rape, who oversees our budget with the sheriff's office, puts together the final product, goes through the approval process with him before it goes to the commissioners. So working with Chief Rape and the commissioners, I think we'll be able to successfully keep things under budget, as the sheriff's office has done in years past, while still being able to provide, excellent service to the community.
Okay, well, we've got about a minute and a half left for you to just talk to us about your final thoughts that you want to share with the voters.
Yeah, well, I'm a career law enforcement officer. I was born and raised here in Macon, Georgia. I went to Tapnell Square Academy. I graduated from Central High School, and when I graduated, I went out to Missouri, to the College of the Ozarks, just outside of Branson, Missouri, where I went to college, and I got a 4-year degree in criminal justice. While I was there, I worked for the campus police department, and then upon graduation, I went to work with the Branson Police Department. My dad passed away in 1999. I made the decision to move back home to Georgia. And I applied with then Macon Police Department and the Warner Robins Police Department, and I was hired by Warner Robins in 2000. So I moved home and went to work with Warner Robins, and while I was there, I went back to college and got a master's degree in public administration from Georgia College, and I've been here in Middle Georgia for 24 years now.
All right, well,
thank you.
Well, appreciate your time, and after a very short break, we will be right back to hear from candidate Arthur Harris. There we go. Welcome back to Central Georgia Focus. We are giving you a chance to hear from the candidates running for Houston County Sheriff's Office, and you just got a chance to hear from candidate Captain Matt Moulton of the Houston County Sheriff's Office. Now you get to hear from his challenger, candidate Arthur Lee Harris, who's answering the same questions, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
Well, first of all, you've had the same person in charge at that sheriff's department for over 50 years now, so a lot's changed over that time. What would you like to see done differently with the department? What kind of changes or modernization would you like to see brought in?
I would like to see the sheriff department come up to modernization. I would like to see a neighborhood watch program, a program for our youth, senior citizen, for the senior citizen, make sure the senior citizens are well protected. I got to compliment Sheriff Capt for doing a great job in 51 years. And I started out with him, and he did a good job for 51 years. But the county is I hope the county is well pleased with him.
Okay. Well, of course, when it comes to law enforcement, violent crime and violence in general are always big concerns with the public. What would you like to see done to address violent crime in the Houston County area?
In Houston County, we have got to do something about our youth. We have got to take care of our youth. We got to create youth program to get the youth more involved. I'm gonna start a junior deputy program if I'm elected in November. Midnight basketball. We got to do something so our kids have something to do and feel responsible. I'm gonna even let the kids ride along with the deputies. I'm talking about 14, 15, and 18-year-old kids. We got to do something to make it better.
Yeah, we've had several high-profile crimes recently in Houston County that involve teenagers, some of them younger teenagers. What else would you like to see done to try to mitigate that so you can catch them before they get into trouble?
By having mentors. We have the school program now where officers in school. I want to have a mentor program where the kids, and that's why I'm going to start a junior deputy program. I want those deputies in the school to be able to identify the kids that might have a problem, and we can get mentors, 100 Black Men, for example, the Ministry of Houston County, get everybody involved to try to stop this violent crime that's going on.
Of course, a lot of the crime that we see, whether it's theft or violence, it can be traced back to drugs as well. What are your tactics, your ideas for dealing with drug problems in the area?
I want to start a county-wide drug squad, which Houston County do not have. I want Warner Robins, Centerville, Perry, and to come together in Houston County Sheriff Department, and we form a county-wide drug squad. And while everybody be working on the same problem in the same area and the same issues, that might eliminate some of the drugs that are being brought into Houston County or made in Houston County. I don't know.
When it comes to your deputies, how would you like them to interact with the public? How do you want them to behave when they're out, and what do you plan to put in place to help with the relationship between deputies and the community?
there gotta be respect between the community and the deputies. I think one of the best ways, and I see it happen to me sometimes, a citizen riding down the street, wave at a deputy, I want my deputy will wave back. The deputy would know the community that he's riding, he would know somebody in that community there's a problem he can go approach. Both of them, it got to be respect between both parties, the community and the deputy. But the deputy has a more responsibility to make sure that he's out there with the kids. If kids outside one of the ball fields playing basketball, stop out there and talk to them. If you don't try to shoot the basketball, do something to let the kids know that you're a part of them, you want to be a part of them.
In the event that something does go wrong with the deputy, how would you assure the community that appropriate action is being taken, and what action is being taken?
Well, if there's something go wrong, a misbehavior, what you're referring to, on the deputy part, I would have a internal investigation team to come up and investigate it and pass the report on. I would not pass judgment until I had my internal investigation team to see what the problem was and get everybody involved. And I would have an open door policy too, where people could come in and talk to me.
Well, for several years now, the Sheriff's Department and the county have been involved in a federal lawsuit over Sergeant Anna Lang's request for the county to pay for her transition surgery. And after reportedly spending more than $1 million in expenses and suffering losses at several court system levels, what are your thoughts on this case moving forward if you're elected?
Well, if I'm elected, whatever the doctors say, I will use their opinion. I wouldn't have no opinion. If there was a problem, it was a medical problem, she was a member of the Houston County Sheriff Department, I would want the county insurance to take care of her. And it wouldn't have anything to do with me. I wouldn't have no opinion. Those opinions are made by the medical doctors and the medical professional.
Well, when it comes to law enforcement and managing the department, what do you think matters most? What would your overriding message as a leader to that department be if you're elected?
Fair promotion. I think fair promotion and doing promotion in the right manner will keep morale high and keep people want to work at the Sheriff Department. You have to have fair salary too. You got to have salary. I would work hard with our county commission to see that Houston County has one of the highest salary in middle of Georgia for law enforcement.
Of course, with the Sheriff's Department, a lot of the focus goes into law enforcement, but the Sheriff's also over the jail and manages the jail. What are your thoughts on the management of the jail, and what would you like to be seen done there, or any changes that you'd like to see?
Well, I would like to see the county jail brought up to staff, having the right amount of people that should be at the county jail be there, not be understaffed. Now, they have hired some people in the last month or two. Whatever number we should have, that's what we should have. I will make sure that my jailers are trained properly too. They respect the inmate, and the inmate doggone sure gonna respect them. I would want somebody to be at the county jail as the head chief jailer to have some jail experience and able to deal with people and deal with crisis. I would bring in mental health. We got to do mental health in the county jail. We got to do alcohol counseling in the county jail. Those two things I would bring in.
Yeah, you brought up mental health, and that is something that the Sheriff's Department unfortunately ends up spending a lot of time on, especially since they deinstitutionalized mental health care in Georgia. A lot of Sheriff's Departments are really strained, both in the jail and out in the community, having to deal with people in crisis.
Right.
What are your philosophies on the issue of mental health, and how would you make sure your deputies are prepared to interact with the community properly there?
Well, I will get with the agencies in our county who provide mental health and get their advice, what they would do first, see how they would take. But personally, I would like to say my deputy understand that people do have mental health, and a lot of the repeat offenders that we get in the county jail are mental health problems that need help rather than jail incarceration.
One of the things that the legislature did is they tried to develop a system where you would have community health professionals respond in a health crisis.
Right.
It's not always practical. There's not funding really set aside for it, and in some rural areas too where it's so hard to get healthcare professionals. I don't know how practical it is, but do you have any plans for that program if you're elected?
If I'm elected, I'm gonna work with the agencies we have in the county and see what I can do or what I gotta do to get them in the county jail. They will be in the county jail. If we gotta have them. If we don't have them, we're gonna spend more money on other things in the community that we don't necessarily have to spend money on.
Well, a big part of your leadership does involve in working with the county commission effectively, and the budgeting part of that picture as well, and getting approval from that budget from the commissioners.
Right.
So how is your relationship with the commission right now, and what would you do to try to make sure that the department, you've talked about a number of things where you might need more money from them, so how are you going to make that happen?
My relationship, when they ran for office, I supported most of them, in fact, all of them. I don't have a relationship, but I'm gonna build a relationship. I'm gonna build a relationship and let them know what's going on. Like I'm gonna let the public know what's going on. If something happened in Houston County after January 1, every 2 or 3 days, something big like the shooting on Labor Day weekend. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have a conference to let people know what's going on, how we're proceeding, where we are. I think when people know what's going on, you get more support. I wouldn't keep anything, not that anybody keeping anything, but I would want you to know what's going on.
Well, we've got a couple of minutes left, and during that time we wanted to give you a chance to tell us a little bit more about yourself and any final thoughts about what you want to see done if you are elected as sheriff in Houston County.
My name is Arthur Lee Harris. I'm Houston County born, military, I'm a veteran. I spent time in the United States Army. I got 27 years of law enforcement experience. I coached the semi-pro Warner Robins Jet baseball team, which everybody in Middle Georgia knew about the Jet baseball team. I coached in the Warner Robins Recreation Department for 35 years. I won numerous championships in both places. High school referee, and probably one of the best in the community. Now, if you disagree with my call, still vote for me. I want to, if you elect me your sheriff of Houston County, I want to create a neighborhood watch program for every neighborhood in the county. I want to protect our elderly people. I want them to be able to, they done worked all their life. I want them to be able to go to bed at night knowing that they are secure and their property is secure. I'm gonna start mental health program in the county jail, which we got to have mental health and alcohol. And I want to make I'm gonna be accessible to you. I'm gonna have an open door policy. You can come see me anytime you need to.
All right, well, we appreciate you joining us, Mr. Harris, and we appreciate you joining us as well for our Central Georgia Focus Election Edition. Now, if you missed any parts of today's candidate shows, you can just visit 13WMAZ.com. Search Central Georgia Focus, Houston County Sheriff's Race, and you will find the full show that we've just completed here. And you can also check out our earlier congressional show as well there if you want to. Remember, early in-person voting will start off next week, October the 15th. Super Tuesday is on November 5th, and you can find our 2024 election guide online at 13WMAZ.com right now. It breaks down everything that you need to know, from who and what will be on your ballot to important voting reminders there as well. And we can also send that voting guide directly to your phone. Just send the word VOTE to 478-752-1309. And remember, don't call, instead text the word VOTE to that number.